Rasha Thadani, welcome to BBC Asian Network. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm really well. Firstly, congratulations. You are now a leading Hindi film actress. How does that feel?
I don't know. I'm processing everything. I don't know what's happening to me.
How does it feel knowing that everything you've been working towards, everything that you've been training towards, is finally there on screen for people to see?
I think performing arts as a whole has just been a dream for me. So ever since I was a child, I knew that this is what I wanted to do. Even before I knew that I want to be an actor, I love dancing, I love singing, I love everything to do with performing arts. So it just kind of came all into place, and when this film came to us, it was like a leap of faith. Because I was in grade 12 when we first started talking about...
So grade 12 is year 12 in the UK. So you were, what, 16, 17, 17?
Yes, I was 17. I just
Wow.
turned 17, yes. So it had kind of come to us, and oh my god, I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted by the food.
Would you like some food?
No.
Please help yourself. If
No,
you're
I'm
hungry,
good.
you're more than welcome. It's all fresh. Whenever you feel like having a little bite, you just reach over and
I'm
get
gonna have
some.
a bite. I'm gonna have a bite. Sorry. Yeah, but no, so it was just something that just happened, and I couldn't be more thankful for it, really.
You know, the idea of women making their debut at 17 was a thing of the 90s.
Yeah.
It was a thing of your mum's generation. You know, for anybody who doesn't know, your mum is Raveena Tandon, who is one of the most celebrated actresses of that decade.
Yes.
But we rarely hear now of actresses making their debut at such a young age. Quite often that's because they're focused on their education. Quite often they've gone and assisted as a director on another film, or just the opportunities are so hard to come by. So how did you process that this magical opportunity was being presented to you at such a young age?
So I think my age is actually what worked for our director, because my character Janki is also 17 years old. So I was actually playing my age. If not, when I turned 18, I was playing below my age. So it was something that he liked. He liked the immaturity a little bit, because of course at that time I was still in school. The only thing I was thinking of was my business exams and my math exam, which was happening the next day. So
So you were in that process whilst you were doing your exams?
yes, so actually how it happened is I was a few months before my final board exams, 12th grade board exams, and Gattu sir, who's the director, he
This is
kind of...
Abhishek Kapoor.
Abhishek Kapoor. Sorry, I call him Gattu, but Abhishek Kapoor, he kind of ran into my mom at some place, and he had seen a few pictures of me online, and it was very casual. He called me to his office, and I was just like, okay, I knew it was an eventual thing that I would get into acting, but I didn't think it was so soon. And of course, I'd been preparing for a very long time, even though I didn't know I was preparing.
Okay, let's
But-
go into detail about
Okay.
that. Two things you said. Number one, you said you knew you would eventually get into it.
Yes.
And number two, that you had been preparing.
Yes.
Explain both those things to me.
So when I knew, it's because I've always loved this part of life, expressing yourself, being able to dance, being able to sing, being able to just talk through music, or even scenes, or I'd always done workshops. I've been doing Kathak since I was a very young girl, and even Indian classical I've been doing for a very long time. So it's always been one of the most important parts of my life. And even though at that time I didn't know it was something that I was preparing for being an actor, I was doing it because I love to do it. And what was the second question?
The second question is, you said you knew you'd eventually do it.
Yes.
But the eventuality of doing it, for most people, it's a dream. It's not, I know I will eventually do this. Is it because you were surrounded by it that you knew you would eventually land up there?
No, it's because I knew it's what I loved the most. It's always been, I knew that I would work hard at it, and I knew whatever may come forth, I know that this is what I'm going to pursue the hardest, whatever I'm doing in life. And I didn't know that it would happen so soon. I didn't expect it, and I couldn't be more grateful that it did.
Well, you know, the thing is, your mum and your dad both tried to protect you from this industry for a very long time.
Yeah.
You know, there are other star kids that we've seen very much exposed to media from a young age. We didn't really see you until you were 17
Yeah.
years old, I don't think, right? When was the
Yes.
first time you remember doing like a public appearance, so to speak?
Very rarely. Even if I was young, maybe there was once a year that mom would take us for something.
Yeah.
But I think I'm very grateful that they did, because if I was exposed to media and paparazzi at a young age, I probably wouldn't be the same person I am today. I think, of course, that molds you, it changes you, I mean, your personality and your character. But I was very, I think I consider myself lucky that when I was in school, pap culture wasn't as intense as it is today. Because I see a few kids going to the same school that I did, and they're bombarded,
Yeah.
you know. But I think now at least I know how to handle it, and I have a friendly equation with them. So even when I'm uncomfortable, they're very understanding to say, okay, it's fine, we'll let you go to Rachel.
Do you think your mum and dad keeping you away from the industry backfired in any way? Because quite often when you're kept away from something, you want it more than anything, right? It's the rebel in most people that when you're told you can't do something, you go after it more than ever before.
No, I think because the love has always been there for me, whether I was exposed or not. But I think them keeping me away from it was more of an effort, so I focus on my studies and I get to be a child who plays in a playground without being bombarded, or I get to be a child that can spend time with her friends outside without having people come up to her and give her that extra attention. And yeah, so I think the intention was very different.
You know, these things that you just mentioned, they're really important things that I think quite often are overlooked. And I don't want this interview to be like a sympathetic piece towards Star Kids. That's not what this interview is. But I don't think a lot of people actually realize that you have your own set of, again, I'm not going to say struggles, but you have your own set of challenges that you face when you are in the limelight or in the industry from a young age. And one of those is giving up your privacy in a lot of ways, is giving up that personal space that you have. Do you think people trivialize that? When people look at Star Kids, they think, oh, they have it so easy. They've always had everything they want. They can get on any flight to any destination and do whatever. They're born into luxury. But do you think people trivialize some of the challenges that one faces?
Um, no, I don't think so. I think it's fair to judge the way people judge, but it's something that we have to kind of take to our stride and work at it even more, because when you come from a legacy of, my nana was a director, who's my grandfather, he was a director, my mom was an actress, and now I want to be that as well. When you are born in that legacy, it's only fair for you with that opportunity to work at it even more. So when people tell me that, nepotism or these terms are brought up, it's always something that I kind of try and work at even more. Because if I'm given this opportunity, what I do with it is in my hands, and I will try my best to do what I can do with it.
Was there never a moment when you were offered this film, Azaad, where you thought, am I physically strong enough to deal with everything that's going to come at me? Because whilst you were growing up as a teenager, you would have seen the conversation around nepotism rise
Yes.
at the same time. This conversation really took a new height in around 2017. And that's where everybody started questioning the privilege that young Star Kids were born into and the unfair advantage that they were given in getting their first few opportunities. And I think there has been more criticism of Star Kids than ever before in the last few years. So knowing that you would have to deal with every single one of those, did you ever question if you would be strong enough to enter this world?
So when I first started shooting with the film, people used to warn me that now you're entering the den of lions, and now you're like, people are gonna bite you. But I don't think at that time I was even thinking of it, because my mindset was so different at the time than it is now. Actually, not that different, but I was very clueless about um, everything other than what was happening at my set or at my shoot, because that was the only thing I knew of the industry at that time, and my focus was half here and half in my school. So I was flying up and down, up and down. But I don't think I thought that far into, okay, the film's gonna come out, people are gonna criticize me, or people are gonna say these things. Of course, I was warned that not everyone's gonna like you, and that's okay. But it was never something that like scared me at that time.
Your mum is one of the most resilient figures in this industry. Like, your mum is made of real strong stuff, and she can give it back when she needs to give it back, right? So what did your mum teach you or prep you with or even guide you with before you eventually got into this business?
So she taught me a lot of character building and personality building, but never of acting. Because I think to be good at anything, you have to be a good person to begin with. So it was never about, okay, do this to be a good actor or do this. Of course, she gave me tips and tricks and your stuff with the camera and how to deal with the people around you. But it was never that, okay, do this and you'll be successful. It was always be humble, be a good person, be focused, work hard, and then you can achieve.
You know, the other thing is, now when we know that a star kid is making their debut, our initial thought is that they're going to be rubbish. I'll be really honest with you. I'm guilty of it as well, as are most of the people in this room as well. There is now this notion that star kids have been given these opportunities and they're not going to be great. Because unfortunately, the track record of the last few years has proven that more often than not, they shouldn't be making those debuts. But something happened with Uyi Amma. Something changed with Uyi Amma. Like, people's response and reaction changed to Uyi Amma. What, for you, was the tangible change after that music video released?
I don't know yet.
It's just notching up millions and millions and millions of views. More and more people are talking about it. What have you seen change for you?
There was this one night where I was driving after promotions. I was coming back home and there was a billboard of our film. So I quickly rolled down the window to take a picture of it. And there was this man on the street and he just yelled at me, ye to Uyi Amma hai. And I mean, yeah. So that was funny. And then I was like, oh my God, come on, let's go, let's go. So I'm kind of scared a little bit.
You shouldn't be scared. I mean, honestly, I think the impact that song has had is huge. And I think, honestly, it's been a long time. I think your friend or your adopted mum, Tamannaah, is the last person to have made that sort of impact in a song with Aaj Ki Raat. But there's clearly a reception and a warmth that the audience has given you that is very hard to come by these days. How fulfilling is that for you as an actor who's worked so hard for this?
I couldn't be more thankful. I mean, even when we were shooting the song, I didn't think anything of it, to be very honest. I went there doing my work. And even when the song came out, I remember being so scared. I was actually the most scared for this song to come out. I remember even days before shoot, I was telling the people around me that, oh my God, I'm scared for this song, you know, and I don't know how it's going to happen. I don't know how people are going to react. And but it's been great.
The kind of nakhre that you have in that song, like there's that one line which is the sher line.
Ji, bhediyo.
The bhediyon se dar gaye line, right?
Yes.
The way you express those two emotions at the same time of this, like, raw you do and then you're scared at the same time. I've seen people try and recreate that song and those moves. I've seen, like, very, very talented actresses try to recreate those moves and those expressions, and they haven't managed to nail it the way you have. Do you understand that the level of craft you showed is something that one expects from a much more advanced actress than yourself?
Thank you for saying that. I don't know, but thank you.
Honestly, I mean, the team are a witness. I was with Bosco on Sunday night.
Oh,
and
he's a gem.
I mentioned the same thing to him, that, you know, that you managed to convey expressions that actually were missing from Hindi films for quite a while. How hard did you work to nail those expressions?
So, first credit I give to Bosco sir, because he and his team have really worked with me on that song, like tried to pick up each movement and say, you know, you could do this and this is the thought behind this, you could do this. So he's a genius. His mind works in such amazingly crazy ways. Even the way he crafts the shots and stuff, it's like, I remember I just look at him and I'm like, oh my God, his mind works like magic. But my mom, ever since even before I started working on this film, because she somehow also knew that she likes this, she's gonna do this. She used to make me sit and watch Rekha ji's performances, Saroj ji's performances, and even Sadhana ji's performances. So she would break it down for me and say, okay, see her expression here. This is a happy expression, but see how she's done it. See her eyes, see her lips, and she would really break it down and try and teach me the craft of it more than just watching it for the fun of it. So even that day we were watching this film where Jhumka Gira Di, the original one with Sadhana ji, and I was watching it and I was like in awe. I was in awe the way she's done it and the way her eyes, and she moves with such grace and elegance. It's like, I wish I can be like that.
I think you're doing a very, very good job so
Thank
far.
you.
You're only one film in, and there's a long career ahead of you, hopefully, as well. How does the reception and the reaction to this first performance give you hope of what the rest of your career could look like? Is it the sort of warmth and reaction that you were hoping for?
I don't think I ever expected. Uh, I was honestly, I didn't even think about it. And when it came and people were telling me that, this is like a good response you're getting, I was like, is it really? They're like, yeah, it's good. I was like, oh, okay. I'm still processing. I really don't know what's happening to me. I'm being very honest. I have no idea.
I mentioned Tamannaah a minute ago as well, and you've been posting. I love the reel that the two of you did together where Vijay jumps in as
Yeah.
well. Firstly, your social media game is very, very good, which
Thank you.
we'll talk about in a moment as
All
well.
credit to her for that.
All credit to
Yeah.
Shubhangani behind the camera for that. But your social media game is great, but this camaraderie that you share with Tamannaah, where does this come from? Because like I mentioned Aaj Ki Raat last year. She's also done Kavala as well. Where does that kind of connection come from?
So I think the first time I met her was at this party, and it was the first time I'd ever met Vijay and her both. And my mom kind of left, and I was just hanging with her, and we were just talking, and it was very small talk. And then my mom was leaving, so she looks at Tamannaah and says, "Okay, now your responsibility. I'm going back." And she goes, and Tamannaah's actually like, she didn't leave me the entire night. Even when I had to go, I was leaving. She's like, "Are you sure? Call me when you reach home. Okay, text me." And ever since that day, it was like an instant click for me and Tamannaah. It was an instant click. Like, it's like we're the same person. Like, I relate to her so much. She relates to me so much. And we can talk so openly about things. Like, there's so many times she gives me advice. And I go up to her when I'm confused about something. Or I need help in something. And she honestly advises me more than my mom also. Like,
Wow.
she's just been there for me.
How inspired are you by Tamannaah's style of performance as well? She's a very, very good performer.
100%. Her moves are like through the roof. But more than that, the person she is. The way she carries herself with grace and humility is like, that's why I love her so much and I look up to her so much, because I'm like, more than performance, I just want to be the person you are. She's such a genuine person.
I think people will respect you so much for talking about the previous actresses that you've watched and enjoyed as well. I've seen so many reels of you talking about Deepika and other actresses, but the fact that your knowledge goes back to a Sadhna ji or a Rekha ji means that you're really studying the craft. But the big difference is that the films being made today are not like the films that you even grew up on. You probably grew up on films from the 2000s and 2010s.
Yes.
Those films aren't even the films being made right now. Is that disheartening that the sort of films that you grew up wanting to be a part of aren't exactly the same as what's around right now?
No, I think because things move with time and change is inevitable. So naturally, movies are going to talk about the current situations and the current people and how people are acting. But yeah, sometimes I do wish that we could go back a little bit to the 90s. And because I think more than 2000s movies, I've kind of seen more of the 90s movies.
Did you watch your mom's movies when you were growing up?
So at a very late age, she
Right.
let me. But now I've seen all, of course.
Yeah.
Now I've seen all. But when I see her movies also and I see the songs at that time, it's like, it looks like so much fun.
Yeah. Well, that's why Uyi Amma, I think, was a breath of fresh air for everyone, because it does remind you a little bit of the 90s. It reminds you a little bit of the early 2000s as well. I think there's a couple in the last decade like that, but they're rare opportunities to be able to showcase particularly song and dance and expression. That doesn't really exist in Bollywood today so much. Do you hope to see more of that in the future?
I hope so, because the fun I had shooting for this film, because it was a period film, and the way Abhishek sir kind of portrayed the entire story, and not only Uyi Amma, even if it's Ajibo Garib, I don't know if you've heard.
Yes, yeah.
And even if it's Birange, it does have a little bit of a
90s
90s retro vibe
a
to
charm
it.
to it.
Ajibo Garib is beautiful. It's like, it feels like it's from the 90s.
Yeah.
When I listen to it, I feel like I'm being transported back to the movie.
Wow.
Back to shooting. And because it just the atmosphere he created, it felt like I was back there. And that's why this film was so special to me, because I felt like I was in the 90s. I felt like I was given the opportunity to just play a character that was so simple and yet so conflicted.
You know, Rasha, I think there's something really endearing about you as a personality. Even sat here with you now doing this interview, there's a warmth that you have, and it means that you're a very likable personality already at this stage in your career. Quite often, that's something that people build over time in the industry. They don't start off like this. But you're at a very young, impressionable age where you're also still realizing who you are as a person. Is that ever a conflicting place to be at, where you're trying to form your own ideas about life, your own personality, and yet everything you do is being documented at every single stage?
100%. I think there's a new learning with everything. And I'm gonna be learning for the next lots of years until I'm like, okay, now I'm retiring. But it's, I'm fine with it. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying life. I'm liking what I'm doing.
I like this because you've got a free-spiritedness about you that quite often, as one gets older, you lose. You kind of, right now, you are somebody who's uninhibited, but quite often, as people get into their 20s, into their 30s, they know they're very much more rigid in who they are and what they are and what their personality is. But you're going into spaces and in rooms with people who are much older than you. And does that in any way make you wary of how you behave in those sorts of circles, in those groups, be that in these parties or in rooms with agents and casting directors and studio heads? Do you have to think about your behavior?
It used to be very intimidating for me. It still is sometimes. But I think when you find your people and you find, like, I found Tamannaah. And
Yeah.
now I'm like, she's my comfort. Vijay is my comfort.
What do you do if she's not at a party though? Then what happens?
I'm still fine because and let me tell you something. People may not come off as nice as they actually are. Every one of these people that I've met, whether it's parties or meetings or wherever it is, they are so sweet and they take you in with open arms. They are all so sweet.
But you said they're not as nice as you might think
No,
they
they
are.
are.
They are
very
as nice.
Yes.
Okay.
So I was intimidated as well when I went, but they've been nothing but sweet to me. Everyone.
You know, it feels like you have nothing bad to say about this industry whatsoever, or these experiences whatsoever. And I hope that stays throughout your entire career, because there often is a time when some people become jaded by this, you know? How do you hold on? How do you hope to hold on to this quality, this charm, this innocence even that you have right now? Some people do it by just staying away. Some people have like a really distant relationship with the industry, but you can't do that. You're in the hub of it.
I don't know. I think I really don't know. I'm just being myself, and if people like that, they like that. So it's okay.
Okay, what are the future ambitions? Let's lay this out now then, because the first thing you need to do is complete your education.
Yes.
For anybody who doesn't know, everything that's happening right now, this room, this suite, your interview, you being here, is in and amongst you completing your coursework.
Yes.
How does that work?
It's managed. I'm managing somehow. The entire day today I've just been stressed out trying to coordinate my courseworks and stuff. So,
Because Bollywood in itself is more than a full-time job. It's not a full-time job. A full-time job is like 37 hours a week. You're working sometimes 18 hours a day. So where do you find the time to also complete your education? I mean, we've all seen now the reel that you posted where you're on set in the middle of a song shoot, also revising in your trailer, in your vanity van.
Yes.
But how do you make sure that neither of these areas are neglected?
So I think now I've kind of got a little bit of a hang of it. It's a bit of overtime, but it's okay. But when I was shooting, I remember I was still in school. I was in grade 12. We started shooting in the month of Feb. And my mocks were Feb end, March beginning. And my board exams were in June, May, June. So I remember before we started shooting, we had a long term of training with horses and dialect and workshops. So we had all of that going, for which we actually were in Udaipur. We were not here. So for that 1 month, I remember we would finish horse training in the morning. I would come back to my room. I would study for 2 hours. My manager would take up my work, and then I would eat my lunch, go to sleep, wake up, go for dialect, and then back to horse training. And then
Oh, that's
yeah.
a lot. I'm
Yeah.
exhausted just hearing that itinerary.
Yeah. And then I would come home and then try and revise, but I was so tired that I would just go to bed. And then when we started, and then I came back, gave my mocks, went well, thank God. And then we went to shoot. We were on set 24/7, and I remember um, on set there's so much going on anyways, you know, whether it is chaotic whether we like it or not. And I remember finding though that 1 hour of break in the middle to go study, and then the ads would come knocking, chalo shot ready hai, chalo niklo yahan se. And I'd be like, oh my god. And yeah, so I remember sometimes even on set while they were preparing the cameras, I would just be flipping through pages trying to grasp onto whatever I could. But it was tough.
Why is it important for you to finish your education?
My parents have always been particular.
Okay,
Even,
let me rephrase the question.
Yeah.
Is it important for you to finish your education, or is it important for your parents that you finish your education?
I think I'm very happy I'm doing it because I want to be aware of the business side of this industry as well, and business side of anything for that matter.
Your dad
Because-
is one of the most successful businessmen in this business.
Yes.
He's one of the most successful distributors of the entire industry.
Yeah, so I've always actually wanted to understand, like sometimes even when I go to his office and I ask him, okay, Papa, what is this? What does this mean? And I don't understand what he's saying. And that's when I realized that I need to know. I need to know what's going on and why anything is happening. So I started, and but my parents have also very much been particular about, even when the film came, they were like, we're not letting you do it until you promise us that you're continuing your education. And even after, take a gap year if you want. Take a gap, a few
But
months.
you can't take a gap year in this industry, right?
No, you can't.
Once you're in,
You're in.
you're going.
Yeah. Then there's no stopping. There's no stopping.
Sorry, I've just reminded you of the fact that you still have to do both those things.
No, there's no stopping.
But at least it's something you enjoy and you're
I
passionate
enjoy it.
about.
Yeah. Even the study part of it, I'm actually enjoying it more than I thought I would.
Okay.
Yeah. Because,
Teach me something about business management.
oh, I'm not the correct person to teach you. I don't want to teach you wrong.
What you don't know is this is actually a mock exam, and this is where we start asking the
Oh,
questions
no!
about business management.
Who sent you?
Your mum.
Oh,
No, let's talk about films, because I want to know from you what the future ambitions are. Like, where do you want to take this? What do you want to do with this? What is the dream for you?
I'm figuring it out. I don't know.
There must be some dream directors, some dream actors, some dream...
100%. I want to work with everyone and anyone who wants to
That's
work
the
with me. And
perfect answer.
Yeah, I could work with anyone. I just want to work. Just give me work
Who
and
do
I'll
you
be there.
admire? Who do you admire and you hope one day you could share the screen with?
Deepika. I've always admired her. I really look up to her a lot. I mean, when I see her on screen, it's like, oh my god, this is magic. It's pure magic. I'm in awe of her.
What's your favorite Deepika Padukone performance?
Padmavat.
Well, here
I
is
love
manifesting a Sanjay Leela Bhansali film for Rasha Thadani with Deepika and the whole setup and the whole shebang. Let's hope it happens, because you definitely have the performance and the expressions to give it as well.
That's very sweet, and I hope I believe that, but I don't know.
You got to manifest it. You got to believe it.
Yeah, I hope for the best.
Rasha, thank you so much for
Thank
your time
you so
today.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.